Imagine learning that the absolute most powerful force shaping your life, your daily stress, and even your bank account is this invisible entity that you interact with every single day.
But you rarely give it, actual direct orders.
Right. Like, what if your deepest fears or your greatest successes were all just, well, essentially lines of code? Code executed by a silent organic supercomputer living right behind your eyes.
It is a profound and honestly a pretty unsettling shift in perspective. I mean, you spend your entire life convinced that your conscious decisions are steering the ship.
Yeah, you think choosing what to eat or what jobs you apply for is you being in total control.
Exactly. And then you realize there's this massive, incredibly powerful engine running deep beneath the surface. And that engine is dictating almost everything you experience.
Completely independent of your rational logic. So welcome to this deep dive, everyone. Today we are exploring the profound mechanics of the human mind.
And our source material today is an absolute classic. We are looking at the foundational 1963 text, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, by Dr. Joseph Murphy.
It's just such a bedrock text. I mean, our mission for this deep dive is to extract the absolute best, most practical tools from this book.
Yeah.
We aren't just doing abstract theories here.
No, definitely not. We are going to unpack exactly how your internal beliefs construct your physical reality. It's about giving you a toolkit to completely rewire your mental blueprint.
Right, for health, wealth, emotional freedom, the whole package. You are about to learn why trying too hard is actually the reason you fail.
Which is so counterintuitive.
It really is. And, how simply changing the movie playing in your head can alter your physical reality. So let's jump right into the anatomy of the mind.
Let's do it. So the text sets up this premise right out of the gate. You don't have two separate minds, you have one single mind.
But it has two totally distinct spheres of activity, right?
Yes. They have different functions, different rules, and entirely different languages. The conscious mind is the objective sphere.
Okay, so that's the rational part.
Exactly. It relies heavily on your 5 physical senses to navigate the world. It analyzes data, worries about the future, makes deliberate choices.
So it's basically the part of the listener tuning into this deep dive right now. The voice in their head checking the time or deciding if our arguments make logical sense.
That's the one. That objective analysis is its primary job. But beneath all that, you have the subconscious mind, which is the subjective sphere.
And the book says this part is entirely irrational. Which sounds like an insult, but it's not. Great.
Right. It's not a criticism at all. It literally just lacks the capacity for rational argument. It doesn't debate with you.
It just takes whatever the conscious mind hands it and accepts it as absolute truth.
I love the metaphors the book uses to explain this, like the gardener metaphor.
Oh, that one is brilliant. So think of your conscious mind as the gardener, out in the yard planting seeds all day long.
And those seeds are just your habitual thoughts, right? The stuff you think about in the shower or while driving.
Exactly. And the subconscious mind is the soil. And here's the thing, soil does not discriminate. Right. The soil doesn't sit there and evaluate the seed. It doesn't say, oh, the gardener planted a poisonous thorn bush, I'm going to reject this.
It has absolutely no moral compass. It just does what soil does. It grows whatever is planted.
So if you plant thoughts of fear and poverty, your subconscious just goes to work growing those exact experiences. That is terrifying.
It operates on the universal law of belief. It just naturally externalizes whatever the conscious mind assumes to be true. No filters.
There's another metaphor that really cemented it for me, the ship. Picture this massive ocean liner. Your conscious mind is the captain on the bridge.
With the binoculars and the compass calling the shots.
Yeah. And the subconscious mind is the crew deep down in the engine room. They can't see the sky or the ocean. They are totally blind down there.
Which perfectly conceptualizes how isolated the subconscious is. They rely entirely on signals from the bridge.
Right. So if the captain rings the bell and says, full speed ahead into those jagged rocks, the crew doesn't argue. They don't say, Captain, we're going to sink.
They just shovel the pole and execute the order. They don't have the perspective to know it's a terrible idea.
So for you listening, think of your subconscious like your computer's operating system. It runs all these vital background processes like your heartbeat and digestion without asking permission.
Just like an OS manages your computer's memory while you browse the internet?
But this is where I want to push back a bit. If this OS is so powerful, why does it accept bad content so easily?
That is the big question.
Right? Like, why isn't there a built-in firewall? Why are we biologically designed to self-destruct just because the captain has a bad day?
Well, the absence of a firewall is actually a feature, not a bug. It comes down to evolution and self-preservation.
Speed over safety, basically.
Exactly. The subconscious has to be instantly reactive to keep you alive. If it possessed a firewall that constantly paused to debate every single command, you'd be paralyzed.
Oh, I see. Like if you cut your finger, your subconscious instantly triggers the white blood cells. It doesn't pause to ask if healing is a good idea.
Precisely. It marshals the immune system immediately. And that same mechanism of instant, unquestioning compliance applies to your psychological inputs too.
Wow. So it can't argue because its job is purely synthetic. It just synthesizes your dominant thoughts into reality.
Which means the conscious mind, the captain, has to be hypervigilant. You can't just let the ship steer itself.
And the book gives this incredible story about Enrico Caruso to illustrate that, right? The legendary operatic tenor.
Yes, the Caruso story is a perfect demonstration of the conscious mind forcefully taking the wheel back from a runaway subconscious process.
So picture Caruso backstage before a huge performance. The pressure is immense. And suddenly, he's struck with paralyzing stage fright.
His throat literally tightens up. He's sweating, vocal cords spasming.
He turns to his friends and says, "They're going to laugh at me. I can't sing." He called this his little me succumbing to fear.
And that little me was feeding catastrophic codes straight down to the engine room. The subconscious was executing a defense mechanism, basically shutting down his voice to avoid the threat.
But then Caruso realizes what's happening. He literally shouts out loud, "The little me wants to strangle the big me within."
I love that. He asserts this aggressive, absolute authority.
Yeah, he demands that the big me, the subconscious, take over and perform. And the moment he asserts that conscious authority, the fear just vanishes.
He didn't ask his throat to relax. He commanded it. He recognized that the paralysis was a psychological command that had to be countermanded.
So if the engine room just blindly executes orders, we really need to look at how those orders are delivered. The book draws a line between autosuggestion and heterosuggestion.
Right. Autosuggestion is what you tell yourself, that internal monologue at 2 a.m.
Like, I'm going to ace this presentation, or I'm a total fraud.
Exactly. And heterosuggestion is what comes from the outside, what society or your boss or the news tells you.
And to show how this works, the book uses the story of the seasick passenger. Let's act this out because it's so clear.
Let's do it.
Imagine you're on a cruise ship. You spot a timid-looking passenger holding the railing. You walk up to them with a sympathetic face and say, "Oh my goodness, you look terrible. You're going to be terribly seasick."
And what happens? That passenger immediately gets sick because your external suggestion aligned perfectly with their internal, unspoken fear.
The code matched the vulnerability.
Yeah.
But if you take that exact same sympathetic face and say those exact words to a seasoned sailor,
the sailor is going to lash right in your face. He has an internal immunity to that specific fear.
the suggestion just bounces right off his mental armor. So this proves a huge point. A suggestion has absolutely zero inherent power on its own.
None. It only gains power if your conscious mind grants it consent. The timid passenger consented. The sailor rejected it.
I really want you listening to hear that. A criticism, an insult, a dire prediction. It's just vibrating air until you agree with it.
And the book dives into the hypnotic state to prove how uncritical the subconscious is when that conscious gatekeeper is removed.
Oh yeah, like if a hypnotist tells a subject they're freezing, their teeth will literally chatter even if it's 85 degrees in the room.
Or handing them an onion and saying it's a sweet apple, they'll eat it with a smile. The subconscious accepts false premises as biological reality.
Which can be deeply therapeutic, but also totally devastating.
Yeah.
Like the story of the crystal gazer in India.
That story is haunting. It really shows the dark side of heterosuggestion.
So there's this perfectly healthy man who goes to a fortune teller. And the fortune teller says, "You have a bad heart. You are going to die at the next new moon."
A literal death sentence delivered by an external authority figure.
And the man is terrified. He doesn't reject it like the sailor. He completely accepts it as truth, writes his will, and basically just waits to die.
And when the new moon arrives, he suffers a fatal heart attack. The fortune teller didn't poison him. His own belief killed him.
He ordered his own engine room to shut down his vital organs, and it complied. That is terrifying in a modern context.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the casual comments we endure today. From teachers or the endless negativity of the internet algorithm.
Right, so how on earth does someone build immunity to this negative heterosuggestion today, how do you become the sailor?
You have to build an active, vigilant defense mechanism. When the news screams that the economy is collapsing, you have to recognize those are just external data points.
You literally have to revoke your mental consent.
Exactly. Dr. Murphy calls it reconditioning therapy. You aggressively replace the negative input the moment it arrives with constructive autosuggestion.
Okay, so if negative suggestion can physically destroy a healthy heart, then the exact same mechanism must be able to repair the body, right?
This is where the book heavily challenges conventional medical paradigms. It asserts that all healing is ultimately mental.
It says there's only one universal healing principle, the subconscious mind, activated by faith. The historical examples are wild, like Dr. James Esdale.
Dr. Esdale was a Scottish surgeon in India in the 1840s, and the context here is vital. This was before chemical anesthesia, before ether or chloroform.
And before they even knew about germs, hospitals were basically death camps.
Yet Esdale performed over 400 major surgeries, amputations, tumor removals, and he did it using only mental anesthesia hypnotism.
He would bypass the terrified conscious mind and suggest straight to the subconscious that they'd feel no pain, and they lay completely still.
But the craziest part was his infection rate. Sepsis was almost guaranteed back then, but he would suggest to the patients that no infection would occur.
And his mortality rate plummeted to like 2 or 3%. His suggestions marshaled their immune systems to defy unsterilized hospital conditions.
It's staggering biological control, and then the text moves from clinical hypnosis to sheer religious faith.
The story of the splinter of wood. So, this young man's father is dying of tuberculosis, lungs failing, doctors gave up.
The son is desperate, so he picks up a random dirty splinter of wood from the sidewalk.
Right, and he goes home and lies to his dad. He says, I bought this piece of the true cross from a monk for $500. It's a miraculous relic.
The father, who is deeply devout, touches it, prays over it with immense emotion, and goes to sleep.
And he wakes up completely cured of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Clinical tests confirmed the bacteria was just gone.
And he never knew it was just sidewalk wood. The wood did nothing. The blind, absolute faith cured him.
There's also Madame Beer at the Lourdes Shrine in France. She was completely blind, optic nerves, biologically dead.
She goes to the shrine, has an overwhelming emotional experience of faith, and instantly gets her sight back.
But the crazy twist doctors examined her right after, and her optic nerves were still physically dead. Her subconscious restored the function of sight without repairing the physical nerves initially.
When you look at Esdale, this splinter of wood, and the shrine, the methods are totally different. The objects of faith are completely disparate.
The universe clearly doesn't care if you believe in a piece of sidewalk or a doctor's voice.
Because the object of faith is irrelevant. It is the psychological state of confident expectancy, the subjective feeling of being healed, that unleashes the subconscious.
You know, hearing this, it sounds exactly like what we call the placebo effect today. But we usually use that term dismissively.
Right, like it's a fake medical anomaly.
Yeah.
But through Dr. Murphy's lens, the placebo effect is tangible, observable proof of everything we're discussing.
It's proof of the subconscious manipulating cellular biology. A sugar pill is just a socially acceptable delivery system for autosuggestion.
Exactly. You trust the doctor in the white coat, your conscious mind drops its resistance, and your internal pharmacy manufactures the actual chemical cure.
Okay, so if this mental kinetic energy can fix optic nerves and eradicate TB, how do we point it at our careers and our bank accounts? And why do people fail when they try?
People fail because of what the author calls the law of reversed effort. It explains why trying super hard using sheer willpower is usually why we fail.
The law of reversed effort says that when your conscious desires and your subconscious imagination are in conflict, your imagination always wins.
Always. The most vivid analogy is walking the plank. If I put a sturdy wooden plank flat on the floor and ask you to walk across it, it's effortless.
Because my conscious desire to walk and my subconscious imagination of walking are in total alignment.
Right. But take that exact same plank and suspend it 20 feet in the air between two buildings. Now ask me to walk it.
My conscious desire is still to walk it. I really want to get to the other side. But my imagination is flashing a movie of me falling to my death.
And the imagination, the engine room, wins every time. The harder you try to force yourself, the more paralyzed you get. You start sweating, shaking.
Because your willpower is actively fighting your own mental image of falling. You're pressing the gas and the brake at the exact same time.
We do this constantly in daily life. When someone says, I'm going to force myself to get rich, The very act of forcing implies they are fighting an opposing internal force.
Which means their subconscious is picturing poverty. So willpower creates friction. You have to bypass the force and change the imagination directly.
And the sources provide a specific toolkit for this. The first is the sleeper drowsy technique.
The book hammers this point. The absolute best time to program the subconscious is right before you fall asleep, or right as you wake up.
Physiologically, it makes sense. In that hypnagogic state, the conscious mind, that critical gatekeeper that argues with everything, is subdued.
The firewalls is naturally lowered. But the subconscious never sleeps, so it's super receptive right then.
Which means you absolutely cannot lay in bed agonizing over your electric bill or a fight you had at work.
You're literally planting poisonous seeds in the most fertile soil at the best time of day. You have to use that state to plant desires.
This leads into the Boudoin technique, named after a French psychotherapist. He found that you should condense your desire into a very short, simple phrase.
Like a lullaby you repeat as you fall asleep.
Exactly. Brevity is key. If it's a huge paragraph, your conscious mind tries to analyze the grammar and keeps you awake.
So if you're in a stressful legal battle, you don't obsess over the lawyers. You just get drowsy and repeat, "It is finished in divine order."
Over and over. You aren't forcing an outcome. You're bathing the subconscious in the feeling of peace.
Then there's the mental movie method. This is visualization, but way beyond daydreaming. It requires all your physical senses.
The story of the woman who wanted a Cadillac is the perfect example of this.
She didn't just wish for it. She mentally went to the showroom, felt the leather upholstery, smelled the new car smell, felt the steering wheel.
She ran this high-definition sensory movie in her head every single day for 2 weeks until it felt real.
She was convincing the engine room the ship had already arrived. And what happened? Her uncle unexpectedly passed away and left her his pristine Cadillac.
Skeptics will call it pure coincidence. But in this framework, there are no coincidences. Her subconscious orchestrated the external circumstances to match the internal image.
Which brings us to the thank you technique. I love this one because it challenges how we perceive time. It's about being grateful before the reality occurs.
The analogy of the parent promising a car for graduation is brilliant here.
Yeah. The graduation is months away, the car doesn't exist yet, but the kid is already overflowing with joy and thanking the parent.
Objectively, there is no car. Subjectively, the car is already theirs.
The book talks about a guy who was totally broke and in debt. Instead of focusing on the terror, he'd get quiet and repeat, "Thank you, Father, for my wealth."
He refused to focus on the bills. He focused on gratitude for supply. And soon after, he bumped into an old employer, got a lucrative job, and cleared his debts.
Now, I have to play the skeptic here for you listening, because someone is definitely thinking, this sounds like fairy dust. Just get drowsy, say thank you, and a Cadillac drops from the sky.
Yeah.
How does this translate to action?
It's a very common misinterpretation. The text is not advocating for passive delusion. You don't just sit on the couch and wait for magic.
We live in a physical world. We have to move.
Exactly. What the subconscious provides are the means. It gives you sudden hunches, intuitive urges, creative ideas you wouldn't have had.
It alters your behavior to draw you to people in what the book calls divine order. It basically recalibrates your radar.
Yes. You start noticing opportunities that your brain previously filtered out because it was programmed for lack. You still have to make the phone call and do the work.
But the friction is gone. You aren't forcing puzzle pieces together with a hammer. You just see where they fit.
And that friction is magnified 100 times when we talk about money. The text argues that wealth is entirely a subconscious conviction, not a matter of back-breaking labor.
Which totally shatters modern hustle culture. If you're grinding to the bone and still broke, it's not a lack of effort. You are secretly condemning wealth.
People blame the economy, but really they have a conflicted relationship with money. They call it filthy lucre, or think the rich are inherently evil.
Or that there's spiritual virtue in being poor. But the rule is, you cannot attract what you criticize.
If you secretly resent money, your subconscious assumes you don't want it, and it works tirelessly to keep it away to protect your moral identity.
The book calls envy the absolute biggest wealth killer on the planet. If you see a colleague get a promotion and feel a sharp pang of envy,
you are actively destroying your own wealth consciousness. Envy is a massive subconscious declaration of your own lack.
You're literally telling the engine room, I don't have this, I can't get it, and I resent who does. And the engine room just says, order received, maintaining restriction.
The text also explicitly warns against saying the phrase, I can't afford it.
Because you're stating a limitation as an absolute fact. You're signing a blank check for your own poverty. You have to replace it with, Wealth is circulating freely in my life.
The book also lays out a 3-step framework for career success that is so practical. Step 1 is find what you love to do.
You can't achieve wealth doing something you despise. And if you don't know what you love, ask your subconscious for guidance before sleep.
Step 2, specialize. Don't just coast. Commit to knowing more about your specific niche than anyone else.
And step 3 is the big one. Your work has to serve humanity, not just your selfish ends. If it's just about your ego, it creates a psychological short circuit.
The story of the Australian window washer is a beautiful example of these 3 steps.
Oh, this kid had no money, no connections, washed windows for medical clinics, but had an obsessive desire to become a doctor.
So every night, he pictured his name in bold letters on a prestigious medical diploma. He cleaned the real diplomas by day and ran the mental movie by night.
He didn't stress about how a window washer pays for medical school. He just lived in the end result. And eventually, a doctor he worked for noticed his incredible attitude.
The doctor trained him as an assistant and literally sponsored his entire medical education. The boy became a prominent physician in Montreal.
It perfectly shows how the subconscious alters your presence. His internal conviction made him more diligent and attractive to a mentor.
I love your analogy for this, that the subconscious is like a massive cosmic search engine algorithm.
It really is. If you type in, "Why am I always broke?" the algorithm drops cookies and feeds you targeted ads validating that exact query.
It highlights the annoying things your neighbor does and confirms your bias. The algorithm has no moral judgment.
So to change your life, you have to input a new search query, like "wealth is circulating freely," and let the algorithm find the matches. But it's not just money. It's our relationships, too.
The text notes that most relationship trouble stems from a total ignorance of mental laws.
A huge takeaway for listeners. The absolute danger of trying to change your partner, trying to make them a second edition of yourself.
It's tactless, destroys their self-esteem, and breeds massive resentment. The only engine room you have access to is your own.
And the primary mechanism for navigating that relationship friction is forgiveness. But Dr. Murphy frames forgiveness as a purely selfish biological act.
Right, holding a grudge is literally like taking poison yourself and expecting the other person to die.
The other person doesn't feel your bitter fantasies of revenge. Your own subconscious is processing those toxic thoughts and bathing your internal organs in them.
There's that case study of the corporate executive who was working himself into an early grave with dangerously high blood pressure.
He thought he was just a driven workaholic, but he actually harbored this deep secret guilt over wronging his brother financially years ago.
He was using extreme overwork as a subconscious self-punishment to balance the moral scales.
His engine room was slowly killing him with stress to atone for the guilt. Once he truly forgave himself and made amends, the need to punish himself vanished. His health totally normalized.
Which brings up the concept of emotional maturity, recognizing that absolutely no one can irritate or anger you without your explicit mental consent.
When someone insults you, they are literally just making vibrating noises with their vocal cords, pushing air out of their lungs.
You are the one who translates those noises into an insult and makes the conscious decision to feel angry. You can just reject the package.
Let the noises bounce off you like the sailor rejecting the seasickness. And this reframes the golden rule entirely.
Do unto others isn't just polite ethics. It's a profound hack for programming the subconscious mind.
Because your subconscious can't distinguish between a thought about yourself and a thought about someone else.
If you wish success and peace for a rival, you are literally programming your own biology for success and peace. If you wish them ill, you drink the poison.
That is mind-bending. Let's touch on the final piece, aging. The text argues that aging is largely a socially conditioned state of mind.
The subconscious is completely timeless. It has no concept of a birth certificate.
You don't grow old just because years pass. You grow old when you lose interest in life and accept society's hypnotic propaganda that age equals physical decline.
If you believe turning 65 means your mind will fail, your subconscious will obediently start shutting down your biological systems to match that expectation.
The author talks about a 110-year-old man in Bombay with a radiant face and clear memory, purely because he refused to believe he was supposed to decline.
And Herbert Hoover, who remained highly productive and mentally acute well into his late 80s, despite facing immense public hatred during the Great Depression.
He didn't let the negativity age his spirit. He stayed mentally engaged. The true fountain of youth is an endlessly curious mind.
Absolutely. So if we synthesize this entire deep dive, it really all returns to the fundamental anatomy of your mind.
You possess a captain on the bridge and an incredibly powerful crew down in the engine room.
Your accepted beliefs, visual imagination, and emotional convictions steer the ship, not your raw willpower.
Trying to force massive change with willpower while picturing failure is like pressing the gas and the emergency brake simultaneously. You just burn out the engine.
You have to utilize that relaxed, drowsy state before sleep to bypass the critical mind and plant the seeds of health and wealth.
And stand guard at the gate of your mind. Aggressively reject negative heterosuggestions from the news and cynics.
Be vigilant about your own auto-suggestions.
Think about your day so far. The casual thoughts like, I'm so tired, or I can't afford a vacation. Every single one is a literal brick being laid in the foundation of your reality for tomorrow.
The engine room doesn't know you're just venting or being sarcastic. It just takes the order.
But the incredible news is that you have the undisputed power to choose a completely different blueprint right now.
It's a weighty responsibility, but it's the ultimate liberation. You are the architect.
I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to chew on. Think about an X-ray machine. It shows us the hard, dense, concrete reality of our bones. We love things to be concrete.
But this text argues that your subconscious completely ignores objective reality. It doesn't care about the X-ray.
It only builds what you fundamentally believe to be true. So take an honest look at the limitations in your life right now. The wealth you're locked out of, the stress you've accepted.
Are they actually real, immutable external facts?
Or are they just the physical manifestation of a totally false assumption that you accidentally agreed to years ago and just forgot to question? What if the massive wall you're staring at is really just a shadow cast by the projector in your own mind?
Change the film in the projector, change the light.
And the shadow completely disappears. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.